The offender is not the only person whose life will be changed after his crime is committed.
The other aspect of those cases are victims in those cases are oftentimes really traumatized.
Chris Billias is the Assistant Commonwealth's Attorney in Rockbridge County.
And I'll tell you, the victims who do come forward and are willing to testify are very courageous people. And a lot of people don't want to go through that.
Billias says some of the hardest cases for him to prosecute involve a child victim and a perpetrator in his or her family.
Because you're going to be in that family. You're never divorced from your family. You're always going to have those parents as your parents regardless of what happens. Those relatives are always going to be your relatives. So once you testify against them, wow, that's a tough thing for a kid.
Christopher Russell is the Commonwealth's attorney in Buena Vista. He often tries to get plea agreements from the defendants to spare child victims the difficulties of testifying during a trial.
In a courtroom with me and the police officer, a judge in a black robe, and because of the constitutional right of confrontation in the Sixth Amendment, when you get to court, the suspect, the person charged with this crime, is sitting in the courtroom, and he has an attorney, so it's magnified, I think, the difficulty for the child in telling the story.
Both Russell and Billias try to consider what the defense attorney's case will be while preparing their prosecution. If the victim is testifying, both men try to get him or her comfortable with what questions the defense attorney will likely ask.
We have to best prepare them, though, for what to expect in testifying. Because remember, on the other side is going to be a defense attorney whose job is to make that person look like a liar, to make them look like they wanted it, or it wasn't against their will, it wasn't by force, those type of things.
If there is a history of some kind of conflict, that does add to the challenge. It makes it more difficult to prove the case, because what that does is it gives the defense an opportunity to say, in a nutshell, this child shouldn't be believed because maybe the child was put up to this because of a grudge by the child's parent against the suspect.
David Natkin is a local attorney who has represented many sex offenders. He tries to maintain a level of sensitivity to the victims.
I have always tried to tread lightly, that you're not trying, you have to do your job and get the information that's required. And it's really what the first thing you got to do is figure out what happened before you can figure out what to do with it.
Whether a case goes to trial or ends in a plea agreement, Billias says the outcome is usually in the victim's favor.
The perpetrators oftentimes are convicted and go to jail, which is what we want. We want them to be held accountable for their actions, and you want people to know that you don't come into Rockbridge County or Lexington City and do these kind of things and think you can get away with it.
Russell and Billias often refer victims to local resources such as Project Horizon to help them cope with both the stress of the offense and the stress of testifying. For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Emily Mosh.